Hello, welcome back to another exciting episode of Everything You Want to Know About Hair with Shelliann Sterling. Shelliann is an outstanding stylist, and she works out of the Michael Kluthe salon in the St. Clair and Yonge area. And we're going to be talking about hair porosity. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Shelliann Sterling, and I'm your co-host, Nikki Clark. Shelliann, how are you doing today?
I am feeling great, Nikki. Thank you.
Awesome. So you know what? I have this type of hair texture that, when it's straight, it's fine, but in its natural texture, it's what people call like a sponge head. Like any type of moisture, it gets the curl and it gets a little bit, extended and it shrinks. So, has that anything to do with porosity? Is that the same thing?
No, it doesn't. That has to do with your natural curl pattern. So the difference between your curl pattern and the hair porosity is the porosity has to do with how well your hair absorbs moisture, right? Because your hair has a natural curl, which is genetic, but even though porosity also is genetics as well. Genetics plays some part in both of it, but with your natural texture, it's just a curlier texture, which tends to, it depends now. If you find your hair is being frizzy, then that's where we're talking about porosity, because that's the ability of the hair to take in moisture.
Okay, so let's talk about hair porosity. What is it exactly?
So hair porosity is the hair ability to absorb moisture and chemicals. So, each person has hair is porous. So genetics helps to determine the hair porosity and the level of porosity. And that's what we're going to be talking about more of in terms of how it's being manipulated has impact the hair porosity level. And some of the main factors that we look at are heat styling and chemical treating, relaxers and bleaching. So any chemicals, so anything that you're going to be doing to alter the hair's shape or texture. Okay. Hello?
Awesome. So the hair porosity, you've explained what it is. So tell me, how does it work exactly?
So think of your hair as a sponge, right? So the older the sponge, the more hole it has, and the least it will absorb, right? So the new sponge, it will absorb a lot more water and it will retain, right? So over time, the sponge becomes more worn out and the fiber becomes weaker. So the sponge releases water a lot faster. So think of the hair like that. So the hair will, absorb moisture. The healthier it is, the more moisture it will retain. And the older it becomes, the less moisture it will retain in the fiber.
Okay. Right. So what are the different levels of porosity?
The different levels of porosity. So think of the hair. There's two important structures that makes up the hair. So think of the hair. There's a cuticle layer that looks like a fish scale, and that's the protective layer, right? So almost like the shingles on a roof, right? And the cortex layer that's beneath the scales. So this is where all the physical changes take place, such as hair coloring, thermal styling, relaxer and texturizer, roller setting, and such, right? So there are three different levels of porosity. You have low porosity, you have medium porosity, and you have high porosity. So low porosity is where the cuticle is the tightest, right? And then the hair is more resistant to difficult moisture, right? And penetrating chemicals, right? So just think of the hair. The tighter it is, then it's going to be a lot harder for the hair to receive moisture. And that kind of hair is the most resistant hair and considered to be one of the most healthiest hair as well. Average porosity. So that one was more for, so average porosity is where you have the cuticles are slightly raised. And this is the most ideal because you want the moisture to go in and the moisture to come out, but not at a fast rate. So the ideal, and this is the most ideal for most people, that's where you want to be. So that way your hair doesn't get dry as easily. It's easily managed. You put moisture in there and it's able to to manipulate and do what you want. And that way when you go outside, the hair is not becoming too frizzy. It's able to maintain the style. And high porosity is where the cuticles are lifted. And most people who have a lot of chemical straightening or a lot of thermal styling and stuff like that, their hair tends to be in that category, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so those are the different levels of porosity.
Okay, excellent. So how can you test your hair's porosity?
So what you want to do, you want to take several strands from, say, 4 different areas of your head. So you want to take from the front hairline, you want to take from the temple, the crown, and the nape, because different areas you find that there's different level of porosity on one person's head. So you want to go in different areas and feel the hair. So what you do, you take a couple strands of hair, maybe about 5, and you want to run your fingers along the hair. So the smoother the hair it is, that's where you have low porosity, right? And then if you feel a little bit of bump on the hair, that's where you have average porosity. If you're feeling that the hair is really bumpy and really rough, that's when you have high porosity, and that's when the hair is most damaged. Okay?
Okay, excellent. So why does hair porosity matter?
It helps myself and my client determine the appropriate products to use on their hair. So say, for instance, if you have somebody who has very high porosity hair, you know that hair needs a lot of special care. So stuff like treatment. You want to be able to choose the right treatment for their hair. Somebody with average porosity, you might want to give them moisture treatment over a protein treatment. So high porosity hair, definitely a protein treatment, because those cuticles are damaged and they're lifted very high. You want to help to patch those areas up on the hair that has the hole. That's why the hair feels very rough. So you want to help the hair feel smooth. So that helps me determine which product to use on the different level of porosity.
Okay. So how do you care for each level of hair porosity and the type of product to use for each level?
Okay, so like for low porosity, which is the most healthiest hair, and those hair are hair that the cuticles are intact and they're very tight. And the characteristics of those hair is that it feels really smooth and it's very shiny. That's where the cuticles are really tight, okay? And it's not exposed to frequent brushing or combing or styling or chemical altering or even UV ray or being out in the sun for a long period of time. So that hair requires very low maintenance. So, and the products that for those kind of textures of hair is just humectants. You want to use humectant, which draws in moisture and retain moisture, and very, very light oils you want to use on there, and a very light leave-in conditioner. You want to avoid very heavy products on the hair because you don't need very much maintenance on the hair. So you really want to use very little product on those hair. Just to avoid buildup. So then you have medium porosity hair. So this is where most people should be. So here, the characteristic of medium porosity here is where you have moderate luster and and shine as well. The cuticles slightly raised, so that way it's able to take in moisture and release it at a minimum rate. It's manageable, it's easy to maintain, and it feels really good. It's excessive heat styling, very little bleaching or dyeing or any abusive practices or can cause it to cause the hair to become porous. So even though you're in that mid-range, you have to be very careful the amount of heat and bleaching and all that you do and styling that you do on that hair texture. And then you have products for that hair. For that hair, you want to be able to just do a lock method. It's called a lock method, which is LOC. So you're putting a leave-in conditioner, you're using an oil, and you're also using a cream at the end. So the leave-in conditioner is going to help to add the moisture. Then you're going to add the oil that's going to help to lock the moisture in. And then throughout the week, you're going to be using an oil, and that's going to also help the hair to feel smooth and also help it to feel soft as well. A great oil for that texture, too, is like jojoba oil or primrose oil. Those oils are really great on the hair, and they're very light, so you don't have to worry about it weighing the hair down.
Okay.
And then you have, and then the last one is the high porosity hair. This is where we talk about the older sponge, where it's considered to be more damaged. This is somebody who's been coloring, like bleaching their hair a lot, using a lot of thermal styling. So when you feel that texture hair, you'll see that it feels bumpy and rough, and sometimes even uneven, especially on the ends, and tends to be more dull and frizzy as well. So this is where the cuticle layers are damaged and tend to be missing as well and raised. For the ones that are there, they tend to be raised. So that's why you feel that coarseness in the texture. For that hair porosity, high porosity hair, you want to use products that that are high in protein. So you want frequent protein treatments on that hair to help, filling those holes in the hair so the hair can feel softer and feel stronger as well. You want to be using anti-humectants, very important for that texture hair, and a lot of styling cream and moisturizers, and that's going to really help to lock the moisture in.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I've learned a lot about porosity, and where can people connect with you to set up an appointment or just to get some consultation about the hair type?
Sure. I'm at Michael Kluthe Salon, and we are located at 1428 Yonge Street, and that's in Toronto, and it's just south of St. Clair. And I'll give you our email address and our number as well. Our email address is michaelkluthe.com. So that's Michael Kluthe, MichaelKluthe. And our phone number is 416-925-6306.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Shelliann, for sharing us all this great information about hair. And we look forward to chatting with you again about another great topic about, how to style hair and also the makeup of the hair. It's really important to understand, what goes inside our bodies that affects the hair type and how we can maintain healthy, good-looking hair. So thank you so much, Shelliann. We're really excited to hear more. And also, Shelliann will be on the upcoming Nikki Clark Show live taping coming up very, very soon. So if you're in the Toronto area, August 17th, please come and visit her and see all the great work that she's doing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Nikki.
Okay. Talk to you soon. You've been listening to Shelliann Sterling, who is a wonderful stylist out of the Michael Kluthe Salon, and we'll be back next week with great information, great tips about hair. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.